Welcome, Dr. James Beckett, Sports Card Insights, here with Grant Sandground. We've got dueling questions. Grant and I go way back, but I have no idea what he's going to ask me, and he definitely doesn't know what I'm going to ask him, although I'm going to give him a clue at the beginning of one of the questions. But first of all, thanks sponsors, especially Upper Deck, Grant's current employer, Nini, Topps, three great card companies that pretty much dominate the card company landscape. And Heritage Auctions, Huggins Scott Auctions, Mike Stadium Sports Cards, Burbank Sports Cards, Beckett Media, Beckett Grading, Beckett Authentication, as well as ComC.com. So, Grant, you've listened to some other dueling questions formats. We worked together for many years. These questions could be about that or anything else. There's no script, no nothing, and I let you go first. So, first question, then it's my turn. The questions do not have to be related. Be kind.
All right, Jim, thanks for having me on again. I appreciate it. My first question for you, and it's a two-part question, so I'm bending the rules a little bit.
No one that knows you is surprised that that's a two-part question.
So what is your all-time Holy Grail card? And the first part is, what's your all-time Holy Grail card that you actually own? And what's your all-time Holy Grail card that you want? And why?
Okay, probably my favorite card is the Roberto Clemente rookie Grail card. It's a Grail card that I have, that it's personally autographed, not to me, but it's personally autographed of the Clemente rookie. And that's special because he's my favorite player. As far as,
can I stop you for a second? When you say personally autographed, do you mean you bought a copy that says to Jim, but it was to another Jim? Or did you get Roberto Clemente to sign the card in person?
You've just given me my second part answer. No, I'm just kidding. No, it's just Roberto Clemente. He had a really artistic script, kind of a half cursive, half print autograph. But I've got a Clemente 55 Topps autograph, and that's probably something I like to show people.
I'd like to see it. Well, next time I'm in Dallas, I want to see it.
Okay. And as far as not for a Grail card that I'd like to own that I don't have, maybe again, people listen to this. I probably need to get it. I don't have, and I probably need to get a special Luka card. Not something you can help me with, I don't think, but Luka Doncic, when I'm having people coming over and seeing some of my stuff, that I don't have a higher quality Luka card in a BGS slab, because I have my wall of fame, and Luka is conspicuously missing. I like all the cards, but.
That's funny you mentioned Luka. He's by far my favorite basketball player right now, and my daughter's got a huge crush on him. And we went to a game last year, or actually we went to a game this season in December before the world went crazy, and we bought her a jersey, and it was a great. He's wonderful. He actually signed for us in Goodwin Champions in 2018. He was great. We were very fortunate to get him. So what question do you have for me, Jim?
Okay. What's something great about Upper Deck that people would not know if they don't work there, but you know because you've been there?
Oh, that's an easy one.
A misconception perhaps that people would have, and because you were on the outside and then you got on the inside. So what's something great about Upper Deck that you can reveal?
I don't know if it would be a misconception, but there is, and I'm sure if I sat and reflected on this, there'd be several things I could think of, but one easy one that comes to me right away is the good fortune to work for my boss, Jason. Jason Mosher is the president of Upper Deck. He was not the president of Upper Deck when I was hired. Obviously, Richard was still alive at the time when I was hired. Richard passed several years ago, unfortunately. But Jason got the opportunity to ascend to the presidency, and he's been a great leader for us as a company. He owned a card shop when he was a teenager. I mean, you couldn't ask for more for a president of a trading card company to have a background of owning a card shop when they were a kid. He's got all the passion that I have, if not more. And he is a good guy, good-hearted guy. He's caring, he's passionate. He wants you to make the best products. He balances it out with having good humanity to take the time off and be with your family when you need to be, but then drives hard to make the best products that we want. So I don't think people would know that just about my company on the surface, because people look at the cards and don't really look at the company and how it's built. But Jason really is the guy who determines our culture, and there's a reason I've been here for 12 years, and I've been treated great, and I'm very thankful for that. I'm thankful for Jason's leadership.
Well, that's cool. I mean, I really feel like the company should, the tone should be set as much as possible from the leadership, and it's not just the top guy. But that's nice to hear. That's nice to hear. Okay, that was my question. So now it's your question.
All right, we're going to go in the Wayback Machine with Sherman and Peabody. How did the Beckett Hot List and the Cold List come to be, And tell us a little bit about that. I'd like to know, did you sit there by yourself and make it up? Did you sit there with Pepper Hastings and Fred Reed and brainstorm it? And was it more fun putting together the cold list than the hot list?
Actually, I haven't thought about this ever probably, but I think the hot list and the cold list was this is interesting. I think it's one of the very first things I delegated. Because, and you being a data guy too, you'll understand this, it was not empirical. It was much more opinion. And not that I don't have opinions, but I really wasn't trying to impose my opinions, my subjective rankings on people any more than the subjectivity of the price guy that occasionally got in there. So the hot list was, I delegated it. I don't remember. I may have it may have come in on some of our final edit discussions, but I didn't, since it was so subjective, I didn't really get as involved in that. And I really didn't think the cold list was bittersweet, because it was the only cool thing that happened a couple times is that people could make both lists.
That's right. Yeah, Greg Jeffries or something.
I thought that was clever. But again, not being empirical, not being, it just was a list that was provocative. We started out, I'm remembering this. If you go back to the very first issues, there were some hot and cold lists that were included on the survey, and we published some of those in the early magazines. And it may have been that readers said, hey, can you summarize those for us? And so there may have been a little bit of an empirical thing in the beginning, but I think pretty quickly it was difficult to tabulate for when we were getting so many thousands of pieces of mail. But it was stimulating to the readers. It was fun, but some of it was pretty illogical. And that depends my sensibilities, but it's what people said.
I remember I worked on many a hot and cold list in my time, more hot lists, then cold list went the way of the dodo bird, a couple of years after they existed. But hot list, I remember we would internally discuss, is a card hot because it was traded on heavy volume, or was it hot because it increased in value a lot but might have been lightly traded? So I remember back in the day, we'd have long discussions about this 86 tops traded Barry Bonds rookie card didn't really change value this month. It's $40 last month, it's $40 this month, but it is the number one trading volume card by far this month. Does that make it a hot card versus, I don't know, a Bo Jackson card that might have gone from $5 to $25, but maybe more scarce? Maybe it was a Fleer Glossy from '87 or something like that. And it was really interesting. I was a big believer in trying to tell people, make sure you balance both elements. Don't just lean one way versus the other. But it was really hard to differentiate between two cards that were polarizing in that sense, and may have had strong data in both. It was, like you said, it was subjective, and it led to some really good discussions internally.
And readers liked it. Okay, my turn. As a veteran hobbyist that's seen a lot and been through thick and thin for a long, long time, when somebody talks about the good old days of the hobby, what do you think they're talking about? When do you think they're talking about?
Well, boy, I guess I'd have to,
from your perspective,
I'd have to put it in the prism of my perspective. The good old days of the hobby for me, I think they go all the way back to when I was a kid. I mean, I just had such wonderful memories of just trading. I'd buy cards from the ice cream man that rolled through our neighborhood and trade with kids with my friends on the street, and going to card shows when I was a kid. And, we had talked in a previous episode about Joel Hellman. I remember he took me to shows to set up with him in Las Vegas, and I got to meet Bill Skowron and oh gosh, Lefty Gomez, and they had the most hilarious, amazing stories that we'd have these dinners. And for me, those were my kind of original good old days. I had a lot of good old days. I had great times at your, working at your company, and I've had great times working here at Upper Deck, but that's the earliest ones certainly come to mind.
Okay, your turn. Question.
Okay, this is the last one I got for you. Is there anything that you particularly miss from the 1990s era Beckett days that you look back, I guess your good old days, your fond memories that you miss and say, wow, that was really great stuff?
Well, I try to get off script on these things, and people, I get different questions based on how well somebody's known me. You were there for some of this, but when I look back, and I think in October of '96, I had a heart attack, and when it came back, things were kind of different for me, and they probably were different for the company. But to put it into a sports card context and a positive context, I quit the more day-to-day active pricing at that point. But somehow I should have known to, and I'm being very facetious here, I should have known to corner the market of rare Michael Jordan inserts from 96, 97, 98, all of that stuff in that period of time, which wasn't necessarily the good old days, but you're talking about case hits. That was the original goal. Well, the case hits in some of those Fleer products and Skybox and all the companies had these amazing super scarce things that you just didn't see. And I don't necessarily have regrets, but I basically, if I turn back the clock, I think, why didn't I get more into being a collector? I think which I'm trying to do more now. But in those days, I think I kind of bumped myself upstairs to being kind of like an executive. And I didn't like that as much. I'm much happier doing collecting and being more carefree and not having to make a big payroll and make a bunch of tough decisions. When you're the boss, you never get any easy decisions. They only knock on your door when there's something tough. But I just think if I would have smelled the roses and tried to be more of an advanced collector, which I had been before I started the company, that would have been that would have been good. Okay, we may only have time for one more, and along this, I'll give you the option to take this one or pass it. But is there any decision that I made when you were there that you questioned? But surely there were some things that you disagreed with, and if so, either you were a great soldier to just kind of take it and follow through, or maybe I'm forgetting some things where we had some arguments about what was best. But you remember conflicts that we had I wanted to turn right and you thought we should turn left?
I don't, honestly, I don't. I was really gung-ho to work on all the stuff we worked on. You let me write articles, and I really wanted to write. I like to write. I got to write Market Watch. I got to write features. I got to do the pricing. I don't think, like you said, I don't think we had big disagreements on stuff. I can tell a story about an interesting thing that was a change that was new for us is when we got into grading. That was a big deal. We had not done that before as a company, and I was tapped along with Mark Anderson and Dan Hitt, the three of us. I think we were stuck in a silo for 6 months, and you told us, go make a grading company.
Go figure it out.
And that was outside of my comfort zone. I mean, obviously I was aware of professional grading, but our goal was to kind of build the best sort of machine we could with the structure. We worked on the grading system of 4 key grades together. All the slab itself, I think I always drove me crazy that there was not an interior pocket on a slab that would avoid the click-clacking of cards inside the hardened shell. Working on that was a great challenge, and work turned out great. That was a big uphill battle for learning, but it was a fun challenge.
Well, that's a good note to end on. We're out of time. I just want to say that in summary to that is that, when we started grading, that was a really big deal. It's turned out to be an extremely big deal for my former company. And it was so important. We put 3 of our very best guys on it. And you were instrumental. If people want to complain about the subgrades, it's Grant Sandground's fault that you can't add them up and divide by 4.
And the algorithms, I can't tell you how long I worked on those algorithms.
I had so much trust in you, but also in Dan and Mark Anderson as well. So
and Wayne was a big name, and that's it.
Yeah, Wayne, perhaps. Wayne, if you're listening to this, I want to say you probably were the most thorough grader we ever had. Unfortunately, that he couldn't go fast.
We theorized that Wayne ate a fresh lemon before grading every card.
We really are out of time, but Wayne was a cog as well. So again, thanks, Grant. Thanks, listeners. We'll be back again tomorrow with another episode. I'm not sure it'll be as interesting as this one, but it'll be interesting nonetheless. So enjoy the hobby and be back tomorrow. The man in the house of cards.